We're just going to give it. We're going to give it just another moment or two. I guess I'll go ahead and do some housekeeping real quick. We want to thank you for coming to this NASIG continuing education webinar series. Today, we're very fortunate to have Dr. Leo Lowe. Leo is the soon-to-be University Librarian and Dean of Libraries at University of Virginia. He also serves as an advisor to the Provost for AI literacy, and he's a professor of education in the School of Education here at University of Virginia. Leo is the past ACRL president. He's been instrumental in working on the ACRL AI competencies that's in progress and will be completed soon. He's a scholar on AI, and he has multiple degrees. His doctorate is from the University of Pennsylvania. He's done some work at Oxford. He's very well known in the field, and we look forward to hearing what Leo can provide in suggestions and insights to apply AI in our daily work and the utility of it. So thank you so much, Dr. Lowe, for coming today, and you can take it away. And we'd like to hold all questions for the end, and any questions you might have, if you could please put them in the Q&A section, and the last 10 minutes we'll actually go through those. So no further ado, thank you, Leo.
All right, thank you so much for the intro, James. It's great to be here. I'm always excited to talk about AI. I've been talking quite a lot about it in the last 2-3 years, and I have led several initiatives. So today, the main theme is I'll share a little bit about what I've learned from these initiatives. I'll talk about what they are and some of the lessons learned that, how we can use those lessons to apply to our lives, our work. And so then this is I have something new for this particular presentation as well, because I just concluded the third AI literacy study, and I will share a little bit about the really preliminary findings from that survey as well. So, I mean, AI is everywhere now. If you turn on the news, almost every day you hear something. It's always something new. The technology has been moving very, very fast. A lot of businesses are really jumping on it, and I think many of them recognize that this thing is almost like the previous big transformational kind of technology, like the internet, like social media, is going to have a huge impact on our lives. And if you think back to when, let's say, ChatGPT came out in late November 2022, 2.5 years ago, it impacted everything. But the first one that impacted was actually higher education. All the headlines back then were, oh, ChatGPT can do homework for students, or ChatGPT could pass exams, business school exams, law school, medical school, all kinds of things that AI could do. But a lot of them are really, really a lot of educational related areas. So we, especially academic libraries and libraries in general, have been feeling it from the very beginning, I believe, and it's still moving fast. We thought that a lot of people predicted it's going on a kind of exponential growth. I wouldn't say it's quite like that, but it's still moving. Every year there's the new thing. Like for example, this year is AI agents. If you don't know what that is, it's that AI can do a lot of things for you now. You don't have to prompt it every time. You can have a personal agent or assistant to do a lot of things for you without you asking. So that's a big change if it works. And we can talk about whether that works or not. When I think about AI, I look when I could this picture kind of somewhere, kind of encapsulates a lot of the way AI is today. We are in a state of kind of almost like confusion on how to use AI, how the society should adopt this technology, especially in, let's say, education or librarianship. If you think back over 100 years ago, um, horses were the main mode of transportation. And then came, trains, trams, and automobiles. And at one point, all those were on the same road at the same time, along with people, pedestrians. And obviously, the laws hadn't, caught up, and it was just chaos. It's confused. Horses were scared. Automobiles, cars, drivers were like, they don't know what to do with horses, and the people who are, whose livelihoods were dependent on, riding horses, training horses. They were like, are we going to, going to have a job soon, or how is it going to happen? Nobody knew at the time. It's kind of like that with AI as a technology today. It's starting, but nobody can really predict the future, even though everybody's kept speculating and guessing. So it depends on how you view it, how you think, how mainstream you think this technology is going to be. I mean, I have my own personal opinion, but at the same time, I know I'm in a leadership position, both at my own institution and also with ACRL. I have to think a little bit more macro, a little bit more bigger picture on, okay, how can I make sure that, our sector, our industry, our field can thrive moving forward. And that's why I've been doing a lot of these studies or research or different initiatives on AI to help us prepare for the future. Whether you think AI is good or bad, I don't really like to use those binary words, but however you feel about this technology. So the first thing I feel like we need to really think about is understand this technology before we can even think about how to use it or how we can thrive in the future. So we look at some of the headlines now. In Europe, they passed the European Artificial Intelligence Act, the EU AI Act, as the most comprehensive set of regulations any country or any regions have come up with. And within it, there's a very specific requirements of companies that want to do business in Europe, in the EU, that if they provide any kind of AI product services, or even if they use AI product services, their employees have to be AI literate. It's a requirement that these companies have to prove to the legislators. Schools in America, different states are saying that, we need to teach AI literacy in schools now. Everybody needs to, all the kids, especially growing up, they need to learn what AI is, how to use AI, and be AI literate. And then I'm seeing a comment in the chat. Are we having trouble seeing the slides?
No, we can see him, Leo.
Oh, okay, good. And in science, in Nature, in the journal Nature, they're saying that, hey, all the scientists need to be AI literate so that we can, they can use this technology to do research because it's going to be embedded in everything that they do. And finally, Forbes are saying that, hey, billions of people need to learn AI literacy. So basically, everyone needs to be AI literate. So with that, I have done several national studies on AI literacy, especially among academic libraries in the first 2 years, and this year I expanded it to include other types of librarians, including public librarians, special libraries, school libraries. So I'll share a little bit about those findings. But the motivation and the purpose of doing those, especially at the very beginning, is to understand, first of all, the baseline, where we are, how do people feel about this technology within our field, and also to use the findings, the data, to develop training programs to help people learn about this technology. So here are some findings. These are, so remember there are 3 of those, one in 2023, one in 24, and the third one was just finished last month. I asked people, the respondents, they have their understanding of different AI concepts, and we put a definition out there for them to kind of self-rate their own understanding. And this is from 1 to 5, so the midpoint is 3. And these are the averages in 3 years. So the first year is a little bit below 3, below the midpoint. And then a year later, it's a little bit higher, and this year is a little bit higher. But at the same time, people tend to rate themselves a little bit higher than they actually are. So, have that in mind as well. But you can see the progression. It's that people are feeling a little bit more confident every year since the first year. I also asked them how familiar they are with generative AI tools like ChatGPT, like Google Gemini, like Midjourney, any of those. And at the beginning, it was, not that high. It was still quite a bit below the midpoint. But now the last 2 years, it's gone up. But at the same time, it's kind of plateaued. It hasn't kept moving up. So it's a little bit, it's still around midpoint, but a little bit above. I wanted to find out how much they use the technology in both their personal lives and in their work. In the first year, 2023, that was the summer of 2023. So that was about 6-7 months after ChatGPT came out. So it's relatively soon. Only 9% of the people took the survey, and around 700 plus people took the survey. About 9% of them used AI weekly or more, and 70%, around 70%, rarely or never used AI at that point. A year later, the weekly or more jumped to about a quarter of them, and this year it's about 30% or so, but still 31% still never use AI in their work life, especially. So it's quite interesting that there are, it's getting a little bit more common. People are using a little bit more, but there are still a lot of people are not using it. Training and premium access. So this is quite important, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Premium subscription is that, as you know, ChatGPT, for example, has a free version that anybody can just as long as you register, you can use it. But there are several tiers as well. You can pay $20 a month for the paid version. It used to have a higher quality model for you. Now I think everybody gets the same model. It's just people who pay can use it more. And same with other tools as well. Claude, Gemini, similar thing. And so in 2023, remember that was about 6-7 months after ChatGPT came out. Only about 8% of people have personally pay for the subscription. And at that point, almost no institutional subscription, no universities or libraries have paid for their employees to use of these tools, except maybe a handful of places like Michigan and Arizona State at that point. A year later, about 19% of people pay for it out of their own pocket. And about 38% of the people have their own institution, have some kind of subscription. It could be, most of them are actually co-pilots. I think a lot of them are Microsoft campuses, and they naturally have gotten that as a starting point. But in 2025, not that many people have subscribed, maybe because more and more institutions are paying for that and they don't see the need. So there's a bit of rapid growth from 2023 to 24, and then got plateaued. Also in 2025, because I expanded the population to more than just academic libraries, so maybe that has an impact on the results as well. Training. Remember, the motivation of doing these studies is to really understand more, so that we can develop training programs. So I wanted to see how many people have actually taken any kind of training. I define training in a very loose sense. Even attending, let's say, a webinar like this one, will be considered training. So from this all the way to taking multi-weeks, courses, hands-on training, all of those will consider training. In 2023, only about a third of the people have done any kind of training. And then a year later, about two-thirds. 2025, about 60%. Once again, it's got, great interest or great kind of growth from 23 to 24, and then kind of plateaued a bit. And the interesting part about training is that people who have taken training are not any kind of more confident or more have higher understanding of AI literacy than people who have not taken trainings. It's statistically, there's no association with those things, which is very interesting, which makes me think about why that is. However, people who pay for the tools out of their own pockets, especially people who have, personal subscription accounts, those people score a lot higher, or at least, higher on every literacy measure, which is understandable. I mean, if you pay off your own pocket, probably because you're interested, you're engaged, you want to use it more. And if you use it more, you tend to become better and have better understanding of the tools and the technology. You probably are, more curious about, the different aspects of it. So that would make sense. So I'm not saying if you pay, you automatically be more AI literate, but at the same time, they are correlated in some way. I ask people in those surveys, every one of them, I give them a statement. I believe generative AI tools have the potential to benefit libraries and operations, and then ask them, from completely strongly disagree to all the way to strongly agree, and to see where they are, to see whether they believe that generative AI can benefit libraries. If you look at the graph first, you see the three stacked bars. The blue part at the very top is strongly agree, all the way to the bottom to strongly disagree. And you can kind of see the sizes of them changing a little bit. You can see the blue part expanding. More and more people strongly agree that they believe that these AI tools can have the potential to benefit our field. More people in the yellow part as well. Slightly smaller green part, the neutral part, but the strongly disagree or the disagree are still there. So there's still sizable people are quite skeptical about this this technology. And the interesting part is 2024 is a bit more polarizing than today. There are, just the middle part is strong. Both the top part and the middle parts have grown. So people are definitely a little bit more polarizing last year than this year. And I think some more people have moved towards the optimistic, positive part of it, which is, quite interesting. So I want people to learn. I want people to, to become AI literate. but yet some of these trainings have not done their have or achieved their desired effect. It doesn't have any, training, have no at least statistical association with higher literacy or familiarity with the tools. So I want to figure out the barriers. What are some of the things that just kept stopping people from gaining those? So I asked them that people wrote a lot on, why that is. And I identified 5 main themes of the barriers, basically. One is cost and tool access. Now you can see that more institutions providing premium subscriptions to people, but still not every place. I mean, you see, even this year it's only about 40% of them, and it costs money to pay for out of your own pocket. And if you don't have a higher quality model, or if you have very limited amount of using those, that really limits your engagement. I'm a avid user of these tools, and I know just from experience that if you use the free version, you are much less likely to explore and experiment as much as if you use the high quality ones. Or there are certain features that can help you become more proficient in using these tools. So that's one barrier. Especially even now, I believe that only the pay version let you turn off the privacy. I mean, have a privacy function where you can turn off saying that you can opt out of, let's say, OpenAI using your chat data for their use. You can say, don't use my chat data for training purposes. So there are all these different functions and features that the paid versions have that actually would help people want to use it more. So that's one big barrier. Time, that's a huge one. We're all busy people. We have our own jobs, and we are already kind of, having the responsibility to do our own job, and then now we have to put this learning on top of it. And a lot of people are feeling the pressure of, I just don't have time to experiment, to explore this when I barely have time to do my own job. So that's another big barrier. Personal reluctance. A lot of people are just, they're not as interested in this technology. They feel that there are a lot of both flaws, limitations, even ethical questions about this technology they don't feel comfortable using. So that's another one. Or they just don't want they're just, some people say, I just don't want to learn another new thing. I just have too much going on. So that's another one. Training pathways. I mentioned, I asked people about training, but I define it in a very, very kind of loose way. In the more open kind of comments, they mentioned that it's really difficult to do it in a very ad hoc way because they don't know enough about this technology. If you attend a webinar here and there, fine, you get some good, knowledge or at least some awareness of where things are or what things are. But in order to really learn it, you need to have become more structured way, and it's quite lacking at this point. So people feel like, oh, I have to, almost like design my own training program, which is another big barrier for a lot of people. And then institutional resistance. Some places are very, embracing of this technology, and some places are not. Some leaders are, and some leaders are not. So it really depends on where you are as well. And some places are a little bit easier to do it. Some places are not. And so that's another big barrier. And finally, I asked them about how they use AI, especially, in the third survey, whether they're using it to optimize or to transform. So let me explain. Optimization, I define it as doing the same task just faster, easier. Like, if I use ChatGPT to write my email, I can do it a lot faster. And I can do it, to do summaries for me, People do lesson plans and metadata cleanup, things like that. You're doing your same job, just a little bit more efficiently, faster, and save you a little bit of mental energy. So that's called optimization. The other way, the other kind of end is transformation. Basically, you're using this new technology, this AI, to help you transform your actual job. You're doing something completely new that you were not able to do without this technology. Like there's some examples that, for example, multilingual community access. If I don't speak these languages, I cannot have access to, or communicate with some of the users or some of these materials, but now I can. Or AI-enabled Q&A hour, where Q&A, like I said, agents can actually do some of these references or even interviews for you that you were not able to do. Dashboards, other things that were not possible before, that you can use AI to do. That's called transformation. It's doing something completely new, transforming your job. So as you can probably imagine, most people are just doing it for optimization, just doing things that they're already doing, just make it a little bit faster, a little bit more efficient. There's a mix, people trying it, and then there's a small number of people that are really actively trying to transform their job, which this is the area where I think it's the long-term direction, basically. How do we think about using this technology to change our field? Just like the internet completely transformed our field. So how is this one going to change it? The takeaway is, a lot of people are reaping optimizational gains at time quality, but still transformation is rare. I would say fragile as well, because a lot of people mention that, credibility and compliance are key risks at this point. The technology itself is not, has a lot of limitations still. And I asked them, so does AI have a positive or negative effects on your work? And a lot of people have reported positive effects, like time saved, quality improved. Sometimes even within doing optimization, within doing their own kind of current ways of doing things, they get some novel, new, innovative outcomes. It's transformational, which is really interesting. But also, as you can probably imagine, there are some negative effects as well. I mean, factual errors, hallucinations, that's the big one. Trust, credibility issues, and compliance, copyright uncertainty. So a lot of these things that, a lot of people have talked about, and it is on a lot of people's mind, and I think they need to be, to really be aware of. But the bottom line is that net effect is still positive. Nearly half of the people, the respondents, report positive impacts from AI in their work, while only 13% report negative impact. That's the net positive or net negative. The rest are kind of neutral, uncertain. So insights, implications for libraries. So optimization still dominates. People are, focusing on making existing tasks faster and more accurate. Limited transformation. Some small minority are experimenting with new services, workflows, or outputs. But I asked them, how can we enable more transformational uses of the technology? And a lot of people say they just need clearer policies, because a lot of institutions or libraries, that's just not not a single policy, or not any kind of clear policy on how people should use it. I'm not saying that we have to do it. In fact, I feel like, this is an ongoing process. It should be incremental. But for people to feel safe, a lot of people ask for it. Hands-on training will help. Protected time will help. As you can probably kind of see, this is kind of aligned with some of the barriers, right? Like I said, barriers cost to access a workload, similar to the learning part. So implications for people who are in leadership positions. We can support a two-track adoption, optimize common workflows, and pilot carefully chosen transformative projects to let people experiment. Provide premium tools, protect the time. So I mentioned tool access matters than just generic training. Start developing some policies or at least guidance, I think, and ethics framework to reduce risk and build trust. Foster a culture of experimentation. So a lot of places are doing communities practice. I think that's really useful. People shared tips, lessons learned, like prompts, open discussions of failures. That's always important. We're all learning it together. Even people who are at the forefront, they will tell you that they don't know everything about this thing. No, we're all kind of learning it. So with that, with the studies, I wanted to use the findings to build uh, training, upskilling programs. So I apply adult learning principles, basically hands-on, scenario-based, peer critique, like what I said earlier, communities of practice. I use the adult learning principles by Malcolm Knowles, and then premium plus project formula. So we have a subscription and then let them do personal projects. So people are much more motivated and incentivized to do things that are directly related to their own their work. It's personalized. It's not just doing one thing, one size fits all, basically. So we did that at my previous institution, University of New Mexico. We, in the summer of 2023, so after my first survey, 6-7 months after ChatGPT came out, we piloted a GPT-4 exploration program. At that point, GPT-4 was the paid version, the premium version of ChatGPT. And it allowed people to turn off opt out of using our chat data for training purposes for OpenAI. So that's the summer, 12 weeks, so 3 months, 10, well, more than librarians. Our colleges have more than librarians, but mostly librarians and some faculty. It was a project-based, cohort-based upskilling program. We have 2 weeks of training and introduction, just letting people know what ChatGPT was, help them sign up, registered, and watch some video tutorials together and share a little bit about the expectations and designing their own personal projects. And then phase 2, 8 weeks of exploration and experimentation. So they would actually use GPT-4 to do their work at that point. So it's mostly optimization, but it's very personalized. So I'll share with you some of the projects, but they design the projects. They design the evaluation, they design the metrics to measure it. And then the final 2 weeks, evaluation and sharing. We'll put together a PowerPoint basically to share with the rest of the college and the university. And basically it's a community of practice. We'll meet every other week. Everybody will share a little bit about their projects, the progress, lessons learned, great things that they're finding, and then also concerns. So people learn from each other, basically. And here are some of the individual projects. One person developed a machine-readable data management plan because we were working with our Office for Research on how faculty write the data management plan in their grant proposal at the time. So they're using AI to help us with that. One reference librarian was investigating ChatGPT hallucinations. At that point, it was the biggest thing, hallucinations. Another reference librarian used ChatGPT to develop reference FAQ and then compare the user feedback with the human-created FAQ so we can learn from both. My assistant loved it the most. She was using it for administrative tasks like calendaring, meeting notes, etc. She and I actually wrote an article together on how much she loved using it and share with other staff, basically. And then a metadata librarian was trying to train GPT to learn metadata creation. As you may know metadata is the big thing right now for AI use in a lot of places, and a lot of companies are figuring out how to utilize that. So outcomes, we did a pre-program survey, post-program survey, and the pre-program, we asked them how familiar they are with these tools. Only 2.36 out of 5. That year, the national average was 2.71. So our people will actually have a lower score than the national average that year. By the end of the program, it's risen to 3.63, a 54% increase in their comfort and proficiency with AI technologies. That score is even higher than this year's national average. So I feel like this kind of model of upskilling has, has some really positive impact on our participants. So some testimonials. This program changed AI from a threat into a collaborator. I gained confidence in using AI to enhance my daily work rather than replace it. The freedom to experiment made AI less intimidating. Some key learnings. So hands-on experimentation increased comfort with AI. Prompt practice builds critical skills. Prompt is basically how you kind of communicate with the AI model. And tailor projects amplify engagement. But there are challenges too. Data privacy is always, every single meeting we have is a big concern for us, even though we're able to opt out of, the OpenAI using our chat, interactions for their training purposes, but we don't know what else they are using it for. And there was no policy or AI policy of what you can upload to the model, what you should not. So at that point, we worked with our CIO. We basically just followed the IT policy at that point. In general IT policy of, we definitely would not put anything with identifiable data like people's address, social security, that kind of stuff, the birthdays, that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, okay, we're trying it now, but we're not sure. So it's a big concern. Even now, I think it's still a big concern. Prompt engineering, difficult but essential. So we mentioned prompt is how we communicate with these models. In a way, it is quite simple because you are just talking to these models. But at the same time, as you get more sophisticated, there are some ways to get better results. And that's part of the learning process, learn how to prompt. And also AI lacks subject matter expertise. I think now it's improved quite a bit, but still, like I say, I mean, hallucinates, make things up. And if you are the subject expert, you can tell right away. But a lot of times you're not the expert in that area. And that means you really have to verify it, which of course is our work, librarians' work, to help people learn how to do it. So having our experience of doing that, experiencing that, can help us teach people how to kind of recognize or be able to verify things when using AI. So after that, I just did one in the spring of this year, using this pretty much a similar model with academic advisors at my university. So we expanded it out the libraries. It's an 8-week program and it's similar thing. But by this year, they were doing a lot more transformation. Several of the people start out their project with just efficiency, just to optimize their work. But later, as they play with it more, maybe because models are more, better now than 2 years ago, they are finding ways to do new things. They're transforming, which is fantastic. And there's similar pre-program, post-program CAP score increases, up 40% in familiarity, up 44% in the overall literacy, and confidence in job tasks all grown quite a bit. So in a way, my library, the UNM library, is really taking the leadership role in AI literacy or upskilling at the university, because we're really expanded it out of the libraries itself. I mean, we've done actually several that are outside of the libraries. And after the 2023 summer pilot program in the library, the next year we did one for teaching, GPT-4 for teaching faculty, AI for research. At that point, we subscribed to Sites.ai for faculty who wanted to use AI to do literature review, which was actually quite useful for us because they would use sites, they would tell us what they like, what they didn't like, and then they'll bring in their other favorite programs to use to try to share with other people. That will help, that actually help us decide, which program to subscribe to. And then we did one for OER, open educational resources. We got faculty who are interested in experimenting using AI to develop or enhance OER. Actually, we have a big grant at the time, so we use some of the money to pay them to use it to develop OER, and then help us develop a guide for other faculty to think about using AI in that way. And I mentioned the spring one, academic advisors. So, and this summer, we have a AI for humanities faculties. In fact, it was one of the faculty who took the 24 AI for teaching one. She was one of the cohort. She's a Russian professor. She got so interested in it. She wanted to work with us to upskill her people in her disciplines in the humanities. So in a way, this has become train the trainers kind of programs, and we work with other units on campus to do it, because this is a fantastic kind of development, because at the beginning I was worried about scaling something like this because it's a very kind of personalized program. It's a cohort-based 10, 20, people at most. How do you scale it to, an institution with thousands of employees? So this may become a good way is to think about training the trainers. So what works across these different contexts is that we pair scenario-based learning with premium access. We actually carve a protected learning time into the workload within first of all, we do it in the summer for a lot of the faculty outside the library, so they have a little bit more time. But within the libraries, we actually, talk with their supervisors, say, hey, these people are using AI to do their work. It is experimentation, so to give them some leeway in doing that. And then we build these communities of practice so that people have a venue to grow together, to learn together. And I want to point out this survey from Sage, technology from Sage. It's called Librarian Futures Part 4. They've done, 4 of these now. And this one is really, about AI. So they did a global surveys of over 1,000 students, 300 librarians, and they found quite a bit of relationship between competence, capability, and trust in the academic use of AI. So some key findings. Over half of students report using AI tools like ChatGPT in their research, but only just 8% said their librarians supported them in their use of AI. Now, I see there's a growth opportunity there. Despite this, student trust in librarians remain high, with more than half saying that they would feel more confident using AI tools if recommended by their librarians. Once again, I see a big opportunity for us. And students cite uncertainty around academic integrity as a reason for hesitating to use AI in deeper ways. This is a university problem, but the libraries can help with that. How do we make sure that people have the guidance needed to use it properly? It's a difficult problem to solve because different people have different opinions, different faculty have different opinions. 27 of the students would not look to anyone at their institution for AI guidance, more than those who would turn to librarians. So that's something we need to think about on how to turn that into an opportunity. So lessons learned from all of these. One of the strongest lessons is that partnerships are essential. So at UNM, the upskilling program, we partner with the Center for Teaching and Learning. We partner with the College of Arts and Sciences and other places, advising offices as well. So that can broaden the perspective and make these programs more relevant. We also, in the first pilot program, we partnered with another university, with the University of Oregon. They were working with their own librarians, and we like, let's have a kind of a collab, a team's kind of meeting to share what we have learned about halfway through each of our own programs. So that was really helpful as well. And and these partnerships, you can start small, just invite a colleague in the different department to have co-experiment with you, or work with a faculty or already curious, work with other people outside of your own, immediate area. Those are all partnerships. Early adopters, second lesson is that the power of these early adopters. In every program, the people who volunteered were the ones who carried the momentum. They were not always the most senior or the most technical, but they were curious and willing to try. And because they were not forced, their enthusiasm was, well, I would say, contagious. But I would say mandated participation often backfired. I feel when people feel compelled, they treat it as a compliance and not exploration. So that's something to keep in mind. For you and me, I think this means two things. If you're curious, lean into it. You don't need permission to start. If you're not ready, maybe just support the early adopters around you. They'll often pave the way. And library as leaders, I think library can and should step forward as leaders in AI literacy, because as you can see from the SAGE survey, we're trusted. Students are already using AI in academic, world. Only a small percentage gets guidance from us. When asked, they would trust AI more if they came from library and support. So opportunity right there. And we can position ourselves as the safe space to test AI tools, and then we can gain up credibility across campus. So I just, we talk about AI literacy a lot, but I just want to, share my definition of it. I define it very broadly. It's not just about, using tools. I think AI literacy is the ability to understand, use, and think critically about AI technologies and their impact on society, ethics, and everyday life. It's more than just, for students or faculties. I think it's really for everybody in society. And there are 5 strengths. Technical knowledge. Yes, I think we do need to know a little bit about the AI technology itself. I mean, what is machine learning? It is a probability machine. It is a prediction machine. And then ethical awareness, you probably have heard of a lot of the new ethical questions that have come up, copyrights, right? Data privacy, biases, all of these things. We need to be aware of them and think deeper about them. Critical thinking, how to use AI well. How do you use it in a proper way? For example, I talked about hallucinations. How do you check how do you prompt it in a way that will, minimize that? How do you evaluate the output? I think that this is the part where libraries have a huge role to play with information literacy in the AI world, basically. Practical skills, actually learning how to use these tools like ChatGPT, like Midjourney, like Gemini. And then societal impact. Now we probably, there are a lot of talks about job displacement. There are definitely legitimate concerns about the environmental impact. And there are all these things that will impact the society. And when we think about being AI literate, we need to learn these things as well and be knowledgeable or be able to find correct, accurate data to support whatever arguments we have. So I honestly, whether you're for or against AI, if you become more AI illiterate, it would only make your argument stronger. That's why I want people to learn more about the technology. At this point, for individuals, I think the first step is simply giving AI a chance in your own work. You don't need permission or big project to pick something small just to try it out, summarize an article, generate some, draft some meaning notes. It doesn't have to be perfect. What matters is that you gain some comfort in through use, be engaged with it and just learn a little bit. I use the example of learning how to ride a bicycle. Yeah, you can read a book about how to ride a bike, but unless you actually try it, it's hard to, really learn how to do it. Share, too often people experiment in private, and sharing even a failed attempt is good. And that's why we set up these communities for practice, more of a kind of safe channel for people to share. And then grow. Growth happens by layering experiences. The more small trials you attempt, the more fluent and confident you become. So the jump from no experience to I've tried it a few times is huge. It's not about just mastering it, but just building some confidence, one experiment at a time. And for leaders, people who are in leadership position who have the chance to, do something, influence the institution, we should, pilot small pilots. We don't have to grow massive, projects or training programs on day one. Just give support or encourage small groups of motivated people to work on some real projects. Just allow experimentation without overwhelming or triggering resistance. Access, I mentioned it many times, having access to these premium tools is a good predictor of AI literacy gains. And it's not, it's more than training itself. So we want to think about how to provide that for our employees. Workload, time is always a huge issue. People are busy. If we actually want people to do this, we want to give them the space, the time to craft out some protected time to try this. So even if it's just an hour or two a week, facilitate. We don't have to be experts, but what matters is creating conditions where our staff feel safe to experiment or share failures, build that community. So our job, the leader's job, is to remove barriers and cultivate curiosity. And finally, everyone has a role. We just look at what individuals can do, what leaders can do, but these are not separate tracks. They work together. When individuals experiment with AI, they build confidence. And this confidence doesn't just change their own work, it spreads. It makes conversations more about AI more normal, more curious, less intimidating. And when leaders create pilots or provide access, protected time, they're shaping culture. They're saying to the organization, it's okay to try, it's okay to fail. Learning is part of the work. So it's only when confidence and culture come together that we get institutional readiness. Confidence without culture stays isolated. Culture without confident individuals becomes kind of performative. So together they can make a library that can adapt, lead in this really quick changing environment. So that's why I see this moment not as a kind of a technical challenge, but as a partnership challenge. Everyone has a role, no matter their position or budget. So thank you for listening. If you are interested in AI or libraries, if you're on LinkedIn, connect with me there, follow me there, and I share a lot there. And I'm going to put some resources in the chat, so you can click on those links to read some of the papers and some of the things I mentioned in the presentation. So I'll put these in the chat, and then I'll look at the Q&A. I mean, somebody can help me kind of read out some of the questions.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Lowe. I have the first question here. You mentioned that there are 5% of us who are truly transforming their work. Can you provide an example of this? Just curious to know what new directions people are moving in.
So let me try to think. I don't remember off the top of my head the librarians, but the one that I work with, the academic advisors, they are, so let me try to think back. one person wanted to use AI to simply reckon or summarize some of the catalogs so that they can give students answers quite easily, basically. But now they have changed the project to be using it as like almost like a automated dashboard instead of the person student asking the advisor, and then the advisors go to the PDF or the catalog using AI to find the answer. It's like creating that kind of a automated dashboard that they can both use, basically. So that's one thing. And libraries, I'm trying to think. I'm sorry, it's just a new survey, so I haven't read through all of them yet. But there will be some kind of preliminary report or paper coming up very soon.
Very good. Another question. Early studies on generative AI use and adoption in corporate America are showing significant issues. Even supposed signature applications of Gen AI, like software development, aren't working out as intended. Given how focused universities are on turning out job-ready students, do you anticipate that these poor industry outcomes will influence current university AI literacy efforts?
Yeah, so that report caused quite a stir in the market, and a lot of people are saying, well, is this a bubble? Is it going to uh just like the dot-com bubble back 20 years ago when a lot of companies failed when they jumped on the internet bandwagon? It could happen that way. But if you look at the internet now, it's quite mature. It got through that bubble when the technology keep improving, right? And I think in some ways we're probably in that kind of period right now where a lot of these companies I mean, obviously they needed that competitive advantage just to survive, just to beat out, just not to go bankrupt. And they're betting on this technology now so that they don't fall behind. And the technology itself, like I said earlier, there's still a lot of limitations. It's not quite there. I mean, even everyday use, we have to be, for our individuals, we have to be very, very careful about it. So not to make mistakes, and imagine, multiply that by, different magnitude for organizations. So I can kind of see that they're not getting the return on investment at this point. But in the even medium term, or definitely the long term, that will be embedded in everything. In a way, this is a good thing that they are not completely, they can completely use this to replace many people. You have already raised that point in that a lot of the new graduates are already worried. A lot of companies are saying that they don't, a lot of the entry-level jobs may go away. This may slow it down a little bit. So to give us a little bit more time about figuring out how to help out, new graduates or people who are just starting out college, who will be graduating in about 4 years, to prepare them for that world where the technology will be up there that can probably replace a lot of the entry-level jobs. So that's part of AI literacy, is the societal impact, in that if there are no entry-level jobs, when newer, younger people cannot gain that kind of experience to grow into higher level jobs, what happened to that pipeline when when people cannot find jobs, and at the same time companies don't have people to get to those medium or mid-level, higher level positions, because they've never trained the entry-level people to be ready for those. I don't have an answer for you, but I'm just kind of looking at the bigger picture to see where things are going. And slowing it down is a good thing for us to have a little bit more time to think about how to do it.
Okay, another question. What incentives do you provide to encourage academic advisors to participate in your community of practice?
I did not provide any incentive for them. In fact, I was at one of the academic advisor symposium for the university. I presented on this, talked about the library pilot program on this and show that people are actually, benefited from it. And I say, hey, if you're interested, just let me know. If I get enough interest, I'll start a cohort. I'll lead it. And I got enough interest really quickly. So I think it's that part where, it's people who are already curious, people who are already interested, the early adopters, and then they want to do it. And what they're wanting to do is actually going back after the program, they will go back to their own unit, present it, and then kind of share with the rest of their peers on how or whether to use AI for what, or if at all. I think most of them got really kind of tangible projects to show people, and they can, now they have that kind of experience to become, in a way, a leader within their unit, to let people know, to kind of guide their unit on using AI for advising work. So I think that's the incentive that they have a lot, they have gained a lot of benefits, positive stuff out of it just by going through it in the semester. It's hard. 20 people signed up, and I think 15 people finished. Several people could not finish it because they were just too busy. But it was, these are the early adopters, basically.
Okay, great. We have a couple more questions, if I think we can still ask.
I'll be brief then.
Okay. This seems to be multi question. You spoke briefly about the importance of verifying the facts generated by generative artificial intelligence. How do you get students to understand the importance of not quoting the AI, but going further and looking for the primary source of the idea generated by the AI? Yes, RAGs can help, but they are often not precise enough. Finally, what do you think of bibliographic styles that encourage citation rather than statements, such as the one proposed by Carrie D. Weaver?
So you're absolutely correct. The RAG can help, but it's not precise enough, at least not yet. It is important. So I'm not familiar with the one proposed by Carrie Weaver, so I don't know how to answer that one. But back to talking about teaching students, get them to understand that. So I want to be brief, but let me share a quick story. At the beginning of when ChatGPT first came out, a lot of students came into my library and asked our people to help them find journals and books, and we couldn't find them. We had no idea what's going on. And then we realized, because they were using ChatGPT citations, they were made up citations. Now, those could have been teachable moments. That means whenever students come to us, when at that moment of need, we need to be ready to have that kind of skills or AI literacy to help them, because that's the point where they need help. But we don't know when they will come in. We don't know where, who they will be in contact with. So how do we take advantage of those? Is to get everybody up to some kind of baseline level to know that, or at least be able to refer to somebody who can actually teach them how to use that. It's going to be a long process because this is completely new, and a lot of students and even a lot of adults don't really know the difference between this. They think it's just a Google search in some ways, because they say searching the web, but it's going to take some effort for librarians to develop these information literacy teaching methods, pedagogy to help people learn how to use AI. I'm not an expert in that way, but I want to provide the platform and encouragement for the instructional librarians to develop those. All right, last question.
Okay, and so this one is about environmental impacts of generative AI. It is abundantly clear that the data centers supporting it are eating up energy and water in excess while also having a significant carbon footprint. Do you share this information in any of your trainings? Do you not feel responsible to share that people can be harming their own communities by using ChatGPT?
So you're right that there is a environmental impact on this. In fact, I just published an article in the conversation on the water cost of it. I'm going to post it in there. So I won't have a lot of time to answer this question, but yes, we should definitely be aware of it. But at the same time, being AI literate, learning about AI is knowing how to find accurate information about both energy and water and other carbon footprint information, so that you can actually not misuse some of the more sensational headlines, like a prompt is going to take up a bottle of water or something like that. But there are so that's why this part of it is part of my hopefully the teaching of AI literacy, to help people think about, first of all, and also be knowledgeable enough to find information, so that they can both understand and also, if they want to, advocate for certain changes, so that their voices are stronger. And also, I want to mention that technology is also improving. If you look at my article and look up the data as well, Google just put out that technical report, and the energy use and water use as a result of that, it's a lot lower than people thought. So we'll see. I'm not, saying that AI is, a great environmental, have no environmental impact, but it's less so than people think. If we flush the toilet, there's hundreds of problems already, that instead of, but we do a lot of things every day that we use a lot of water as well. So that's one, take a look at that article, and then and other articles cited in there, and let other people know about those as well. But I absolutely agree with you. That should be part of the conversation, or any kind of training.
Well, let's all thank Dr. Leo Lowe for spending this hour with us, and thank you for all those that hung in, and thank you again, Dr. Lowe. This has been very informative. I think it's going to help many people and encourage them to become more aware about AI. Thank you for everybody attending.
Great. Thank you all.